Okay. Good morning to everyone. I didn't have a whole lot come in this week. There's a couple, so I'm going to revert to some basics. I do want to cover some advertising guidelines. I did send out an attachment last week with those. Well, before we get started, does anyone have a transactional question they want to ask off the bat? No. Yes, Heather. You're still muted, Heather.
I made a silly mistake on an offer and didn't realize that only a couple of companies, I haven't done a mobile home in years. And so I put the wrong escrow company that won't handle mobile homes. Can I just change that in amendment?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Just state the escrow company to be, okay. That's what I figured. I just.
Yep. And remember, everyone, we use the addendums when we're writing an offer, we're creating an offer. And once the offer is ratified, we use an amendment. So there's a difference between an addendum to a contract and an amendment to a contract. It's not a fatal difference, but it's out there. Okay, let me go down to this advertising stuff. So this is part of what I sent out last week. And this has to do with sales associates websites. And so the California law and DRE, these are DRE regulations, by the way. DRE require the company to supervise the advertising of its sales associates. To enable the company to meet its broker supervision duties, all sales associates must notify the company of the URL address of their personal websites. Listings, talks about listings, broker identification. California law and the Code of Ethics requires that identification of the real estate broker be prominently displayed in all advertising, and the company identification must have equal prominence with any and all team names or any salesperson-owned fictitious business name that is registered with the DRE or DBA. Equal prominence means that the company identification must be at least the same size as the team name identification and must appear on the same page. Therefore, sales associates must use the company logo or sales associates website to satisfy this requirement. Sales associates must also include the office address and phone number on sales associates website. The broker's name and logo must be displayed on every page of the sales associate's personal website. A sales associate also must include sales associate's DRE license number as sales associate's homepage and any landing page where any visitor to sales associate's website might be directed from another site or other communication. Okay. License number. Pursuant to state law and DRE regulations, all advertising material in any medium included, but not limited to electronic media, which is all social media, and internet, must include the license number of each and every sales associate identified in the advertising. The font and size cannot be smaller than the smallest font used in the advertising material or medium. Okay. Then goes on for links. What's this red part here? The sales associate will need to secure prior written approval from the company to include links to other websites that do not relate to the company's business. I'm not aware that you have any of those. Okay. Blogs and social networking sites. And before posting an entry in any such media, consider the following. Would I like to see this entry 6 feet high on a courtroom wall? And well, if you don't want to see that, then don't post it. I think what they're saying is this will be used as evidence by someone in a court of law if we're dragged down that path. there's intellectual property, sales activity, advertising requirements in general. Okay, if the sales associates are using a team name or a salesperson owned fictitious business name that is registered with the DRE, California law requires that sales associates must comply with the additional advertising requirements, which in part relate to the viable team names and fictitious business names that sales associates are authorized to use. The issue that we are dealing with is an agent had on their website just a little tagline, which she used the title "Homes by," I'll just say Trudy. See if you're paying attention, Trudy. So "Homes by Trudy." And the DRE determined this was a fictitious business name because it wasn't the name of the agent. It was the first name of the agent, but it wasn't the full name of the agent, and therefore it was a fictitious business name. So when this was brought to our attention, the agent removed that little tagline and is not using it any longer. If you are planning to use some kind of tagline, sales by Shannon or something similar, then you need to file a fictitious business name statement, first of all, with the county. And then once you're given the fictitious business name by the county, then you file it with the DRE. But you don't file it unless you're a broker. If you're a sales associate, you have to bring it to the broker, which is moi, and I file it with the DRE, saying that our sales associate is going to use this fictitious business name. And then they add it to the FBNs, fictitious business names, that are associated with the license. Now, we have a lot of fictitious business names. You may know our actual corporation under which we are licensed is VOMR Inc. But we have a DBA, a fictitious business name, is Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Wine Country Group. Mason McDuffie Commercial Real Estate. We probably have a dozen or half dozen fictitious business names. So if you're going to be using anything, marketing wise that you feel is going to advance your business, and it would constitute a fictitious business name, just make sure you follow the steps to make sure we're legal. Right now, we're facing, not only is the agent facing a fine, the corporation is facing a fine, and I personally am facing a fine for this one little violation.
Oh,
that was correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this regarding a web address?
Yeah, it could be a web address too. You should be careful about what web links you're using. If it implies a fictitious business name that the public would not recognize or not be able to look up on the DRE website, then that's what they're trying to avoid. They don't want us to be hidden behind fictitious business names.
Got it.
Looking for the word of the day: transparency. Now, Heather and Rob are using a team name, and team names are good as long as they have your real names in them. That makes them legal, because then the public can identify those people because they're using their real names. If you used a fictitious business name for your team, the Sally Mae Group, and your name's not Sally Mae, then that's a problem. Then you got to file your fictitious business name. Also, brokers who use fictitious business names can file their own DBAs as part of the broker's license. Michael Crane Properties, for instance. Michael Crane is a broker associate with our firm, and but he is a broker, and he has under his broker's license the fictitious business name Michael Crane Properties. So that's all well and good. If you're a broker and you're using a fictitious business name, you can file it yourself. Okay, don't want to beat that horse to death, but if you have any questions about your advertising, what you're putting in your advertising, please send it to Haley for review. She's up to speed on these requirements. Okay. Our base websites that you're using in Moxie, as long as you aren't adapting them with other names or monikers, are fine. They're all set up to go. All right. Let's move on to some basic issues. I'm going to cover agency real quick. So we did have a question come up about agency. Okay. And as you know, this form, the disclosure regarding real estate agency, pops up first when you're either writing an RPA or you're writing a listing or you're writing a buyer broker agreement. This is always the first form to pop up. And as you can see here, this is required by the Civil Code. This is state law. It's not just something we like to use. It's required. You know, I've gone over this, but it basically says we can be a seller's agent, we can be a buyer's agent, or we can be an agent representing both the buyer and the seller. So when we're a seller's agent, we have to the seller, it says here, a fiduciary duty of utmost care, integrity, honesty, and loyalty in dealings with the seller. When we're we have to the buyer and the seller these duties, the diligent exercise of reasonable skill and good care in performance of our duties, a duty of honesty and fair dealing and good faith, a duty to disclose all facts known to the agent materially affecting the value or desirability of the property that are not known or within the diligent attention and observation of the parties. An agent is not obligated to reveal to either party any confidential information obtained from the other party that does not involve the affirmative duties set forth above. And then the buyer's agent repeats the same stuff, except you have a fiduciary duty of utmost care, integrity, honesty, and loyalty in dealing with the buyer, not the seller. You still have these duties, the same duties that were cited above, to both parties, the buyer and the seller. Now, here's the rub. Agent representing both buyer and seller. The real estate agent, either acting directly or through one or more sales persons and broker associates, can legally be the agent of both the buyer and seller in the transaction, but only with the knowledge and consent of both the buyer and the seller. And in a dual agency situation, the agent has the following affirmative obligations to both the buyer and seller. And then, so we have a fiduciary duty to both parties and the other duties that are spelled forth up above. In representing both the seller and buyer, a dual agency may not, without the express permission of the respective party, disclose to the other party confidential information, including but not limited to facts relating to either the buyer's or seller's financial position, motivations, bargaining position, or other personal information that may impact the price, including the seller's willingness to accept a price less than the listing price, or the buyer's willingness to pay a price greater than the price offered. So we can't disclose those things without the express approval and consent of the party. Now, this always drives me crazy, but you go to the MLS meeting and an agent will stand up and said, make an offer. We'll look at any offer that that's reasonable. Is that fairly representing our seller? No, not really, because we've signed a listing at a certain price, And that's the price we have to represent. So if you aren't comfortable representing that price and think you're going to get a price lower than that price, then let's be clear about with the seller about listing at the proper price. But we can't say that the seller might accept an offer less than the listing price unless they've told us, and then we can't disclose that even if they've told us. So as long as we've got a listing and we have a price on it, that's the price we have to defend, and we have to ask for that. Now, if the seller says, geez, we aren't going to be getting any offers, I don't want to lower the price, but tell people I might accept something lower. What do you do then? Someone? Yes, Heather.
Get it in writing?
There you go. Yeah, get that either, I'm not looking for a signed document, but, send them an email saying, this is to confirm our conversation today that you said I could disclose that you will consider offers less than the listing price of $500,000. And, just send that off. And then you can go out there and say, hey, the seller says they'll entertain offers that might be less than the listing price. Please bring them in. But without that express consent, we can't represent that. And then the buyer, your buyer might say to you, well, let's start here. I'm willing to go up to 750,000, but I really would rather get it for less. So let's start at 700. Now they've told you they're willing to go to 750. Can you disclose that to the other side? No, you say this is our best offer, and sometimes our listing agents come to us and say, oh, well, they've told us that's their best offer. And I said, well, it's their best offer, counter it anyway. If that's what the seller wants to do, we're going to have to, counter it, no matter what they say. And, but yeah, you are fully in your rights to present an offer and say it's the buyer's best offer, even though they've said they might go higher to you personally, because that's the offer they're making now. So that's what we have to defend. Okay. So the question that came up was, we have a co-listing with another company. Let's say it's our firm and Coldwell Banker are 50-50 on the listing, which is not uncommon, and that we would share listings with another company. And there were offers coming in, multiple offers, and one was from a third-party agent, and one was from an agent from Coldwell Banker, not the listing agent, but a different agent. And remember that dual agency says here that salesperson or through one or more salespersons and broker associates. So if you aren't bringing the offer personally, but another agent affiliated with the Wine Country Group is bringing the offer, then we're still dual agents. It's still a dual agency. So, or the same would hold true with Mingtree. If our listing agent and then another agent within Mingtree brings an offer, that would be dual agency. But anyway, the agent, our agent called and said, well, you want to call the seller and explain to them that we have these two offers because we have a conflict of interest. And I said, whoa. What's the conflict of interest? Where did that come up? And they said, well, the one offers from Coldwell Banker. And I said, well, yeah. Okay, just because the offer is from Coldwell Banker, does that change any of our duties under the agency relationship? Answer, no. Our duties remain the same. We still have all those. We have a fiduciary duty to our seller. And we have these other duties that are listed, A, B, C there. So that's not changed by the, sorry, I kind of, I didn't share the screen there, but anyway, we have the same duties and they aren't changed. So I said, listen, there's no conflict of interest. I mean, if there's a conflict of interest, they wouldn't allow us to do this. Okay. So don't bring up the term conflict of interest because that's something outside. That means we aren't following our duties and doing our responsibilities. So yeah, there's no conflict of interest in us representing both sides. It's allowed by the law, and it tells us we can do that as long as both parties consent. And we have these duties that are spelled out. So there shouldn't be we should never get into a situation where there's conflict of interest. Now, there might be a conflict of interest if you personally were going to buy the property and be the agent as well, and you don't disclose that. But you all know from your training that that's a no-no, that if you're going to buy a property personally, you have to state in there that you're a licensed real estate agent. And in most cases, particularly on the sales side, an agent will get a cooperating broker or agent within our firm to represent the sale. So there's kind of an arm's length thing. Okay, any questions on the agency and conflict of interest? That's what I really wanted to get to. Nope. Okay. Well, while we're doing agency, why don't I just go to form number 2 here on our package. I don't think I'll get to the grid today, but form number 2 actually now is fair housing and can't discriminate. We know that. This one here, the possible representation of more than one buyer or seller, disclosure and consent. And this, just like agency, says, well, we might have multiple buyers, you know. The broker individually or through its associates may be working with many prospective buyers at the same time. And these prospective buyers may have an interest in or make offers on the same properties. Is there a conflict of interest? No, we've told them that we're working with many buyers and that this is possibly can happen. The same with sellers. Our broker or through its licensees may have listings on many properties at the same time. As a result, the broker will attempt to find buyers for each of those properties, and some listed properties may appeal to the same prospective buyers. So we're telling the principals here, because we give this to both buyers and sellers, that, hey, you know, we may have more than one buyer for your property, you know, in our firm. We aren't aware of them, but that's not a conflict of interest. We just want to let you know. And with as we're representing seller, we say, well, we have other listings that may compete with your listing, but we're still going to do our best to sell your property. And the same with dual agency. If the seller is represented by a broker, the seller acknowledges the broker may represent prospective buyers and consents to buyer acting as a dual agency. So here is where we're getting the permission to act as dual agency. That's where they would give us that. And the last thing on this form is offers are not necessarily confidential. The buyer is advised that seller or listing agent may disclose the existence, terms, or condition of the buyer's offer unless all parties and their agent have signed a written confidentiality agreement. So your buyer needs to know, particularly if you're in a competing situation, that the sellers may want to, what we call, shop your offer to see if they can get a better offer from another party. And that is, you know, they may disclose your terms. That includes the price and financing and all the terms of your offer to a third party to see if they can get that third party to write a better offer. And that's all okay. that's can happen unless you have a confidentiality agreement. Now, do we often see confidentiality agreements? Very, very rarely. It generally, it only happens a few times a year with what I would call high profile clients who don't want their identity disclosed. And then they generally create their own confidentiality agreement with attorneys and stuff like that. There is a confidentiality agreement in the zip forms, but like I say, it's very, very rarely used. And we just do our business knowing that the seller and the seller's agent may shop our offer, and we have to be willing to let our buyer know that if your offer gets shopped, we'll ask to see that we have another shot at improving our offer too, or proving your offer too. Don't use the R word, don't use the we word. Okay, so any questions on that form? Possible representation of more than one buyer or seller? Okay. For most of you, it's we've dealt with them for years. Okay, I'll turn it over to you at this point, Heather, because if I start into the RPA grid, it's going to take a while. So we'll come back on that another day.
Okay, great. Thank you. I had two questions. One was going back to the marketing information. The attorneys said something about that we need to make sure our websites are ADA compliant. Do you know if the Moxie ones are?
Yeah.
They are.
When
Okay.
when I was down in Miami at the BHG meetings in when was that, last fall, the Moxie people were there, and I brought this up with them, and they confirmed, they went up to the channel and confirmed that the Moxie websites are ADA compliant. So
Okay.
if we get challenged on anyone, we would turn back to them and say, hey, you said this was ADA compliant.
Right.
Now,
How
your
about
private
one-
website, I can't warrant that. In fact, one of our top agents, who has had a personal website all the while, and I said, well, you're going to have to go back to whoever wrote the code and the designer of that website, because frankly, I don't know exactly what you need to do to make it ADA compliant. But your designer should know, because they're in that business.
Yeah. Okay. That was my other question. Yeah. Because I have a side one. I'm just curious.
Yeah. You got to go back to your designer and say, hey, is this ADA compliant? And if not, make it so.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. And then my other question, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Is on the zip forms, it automatically often fills in our company. I don't know if this is happening for other people, but see here, it says Better Homes and Gardens WCG-S. I don't know what the -S is. Is that how we want it written, or should we like override that and put in something different for our company, our brokerage firm?
To my knowledge, it's only uploading information from your prior transactions. It's not from a master database that we put in there or anything like that. So I've never seen that. Maybe at some point you type that in by mistake and it's replicating itself, but no, I don't know where that came from. It's
okay, because when I start typing in, okay, must have been something I don't know what the -S is. Okay, I will get rid of that. That's silly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I've kept meaning to ask. No. Okay, so I am going to go over. Looks like we have plenty of time, so I'll go over two things today. I'm going to go over. Eric, you were asking about separating a PDF and zip forms. So if you just need, if someone sends over a document and it's got 10 different documents in it, how do you separate those out in zip forms, or even one of the forms that you upload in zip forms? So I will show you guys that. It's quite easy and convenient. You do need to be, once you are, go into a transaction, whichever transaction you want to work on. And then you go up here to documents. As we all know, there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can, well, there's 3 actually. If it's a zip forms, if it's a CAR document, you can either open the document, which I'll show you. I'll just show you that first. You can open the document. Sorry, nope, that's not what I need to do. You click on the document, check it, select it, and then up here you see it says save as PDF. So you actually have to change it into a PDF first, and then you can divide out what you need to. All right, so you save as PDF, then you can just save it there in your transaction as, you can do it as separate PDF files. That means if you had selected several, then they would all convert into a PDF individually. It wouldn't just be one longer document. And then you click save. That's going to turn that RPA into a PDF, and you'll see it. Where is it? Oh, it doesn't have an address in it. Okay. Let me go to an actual transaction. Something older that doesn't matter if I mess around with. All right, here is a one that should already have addresses in it. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. Click on the RPA, select it, come up here to save as PDF. And then top right is save. That should work just fine. And then right next to it is going to create that PDF. Then you can actually open the PDF. Slowly, and you'll see once a PDF is open, you'll see right up at the top here, it says split and rotate. So you click on this, and I wish I'd known about this about 3 months ago when I was in a transaction with an agent that did not have a computer. So she would take every document to UPS and have them scan it, and they all came in sideways. They didn't come in upright. So I had to rotate every single one. And my PDF program made me do it individually. It was a real hassle. So this is convenient. You can rotate it right in here. If you want to rotate one page, then you just click on this little rotate arrow on the top right. That's going to rotate it for you, which is convenient. And then if you want to split it, that's what we're here talking about today, is this add split. So you click on this, the first thing you do is name the document. So what it's going to actually do is it's going to extract out of this PDF. This PDF will stay, and then it'll just extract out the pages that you want. So say you're just pulling out, 3 pages, maybe you just want to pull out, pages 5 through 7. Or let's see, in a contract, let's see, you might want to pull out the first 3 pages of the RPA, right? This one, or maybe the first 3 where all those details are. Then maybe you're going to name it offer details for that address, whatever. You want to name it something that you're going to remember why you extracted it out, right? And then you just put in the pages you want. It says right here what the page number is according to this PDF. It's not the page down here, 1 of 16 of the RPA, right? It is the page of the PDF. So I'm going to say I want to extract pages 7 through 9. And then you're going to click save. You can do more. You can add another split in there as well. I like to just do it one at a time because I find it's cleaner, but you can add multiple splits. But I'm going to just do pages 7 through 9 and then save. And then you'll see here at the bottom, it added a new PDF, offer details, and that address. So it just pulled out the pages I needed and saved it as a new PDF there. Very convenient. If you do have, if someone sends you a document, so they just sent you an offer, say, and it's got, the entire offer, pre-approval letter, all those different documents all in one, you can just upload it into this transaction. Like this PDF here was uploaded, right? You can upload it into here, and then you can do the same thing and just split out what you need. The other way to access the split feature is you can just click right here on this little caret. So for this PDF, you can see it's a PDF. I'm going to click on that little caret, and then it gives me some options on the right. And that split and rotate option is in there as well. And then it just does the exact same thing. It opens up the document where you can see it. This happens to be an SPQ. You're going to add in the split, name it, SPQ page 5. I don't know why you would need to do that, but put in the page you want removed and then click save, and it's going to create a separate PDF with just that page for you. So that's pretty handy. Anybody have any questions? It is nice to remember here, just a little reminder, any of these documents that you wanted, if you're going to do something individually from them, that little green caret on the top right, oh, I see a hand, hold on one second, does give you a bunch of different options. So you can print right from there, you can save as a PDF from there and download. So you don't have to go into the forms editor if you don't want to. You can just do it from here. If you know it's all ready for you to do something too, you can do that. And Lisa, you have a question?
Unmute myself over here. So I don't have a question on this per se, but I know this is, your kind of your area of expertise. But last night when I was doing an offer, and I kind of got dumbfounded, it was late at night, and all of a sudden there's 3 different ways to DocuSign, and I don't know how many other agents that's happened to, but it popped up last night. I was like, oh, I'm so unprepared for this. So then I picked the AuthentiSign like it normally is the default. And then it had you go through and you had to put in everybody individually. Didn't matter if you had them in your parties already, and you had to then put them in order who's going to sign. It kind of caught me off guard. Did they just do that, like make that change in the last? Because I had several offers last month. I didn't have any of those issues, and then now all of a sudden it was like, whoa, what's all this about? So
yeah, they added AuthentiSign a while back, and then they took out DigiSign. Digital Ink. I always use Digital Ink. So I'm more familiar with that. And then they added Digital Ink back in. So it's been a little confusing. The good thing is you just have to go, let's see, did they give you an option here to sign?
I lost my screen with you. There we go. Let's see if I can. Oh, there we go.
Oh, it should bring up an option
There we
to
go.
sign.
Yeah. So, I don't know of other agents, but it was like all of a sudden became a complication last night. I was like, oh, I don't even know. I've got to work my way through this one.
Yeah. I did go over it in this class a couple of weeks ago. So you can go back and watch that video. I'm trying to get it to pull it. It's not opening up right now for some reason. But it is, you just have to kind of step through. I would show you if it will open, but it's not opening. Let's see if I can just get anything open here. The thing is, when you put in your people one time, there's a spot where you can click and add them. Forget what it's called. It says add to like address book or something, and then they will show up in the future. But look, none of these. Sorry.
Because I thought, if I've got to do that every single time now in this transaction, then I'm going to send out, this was just the RPA, but I was like, I thought, oh, geez, that's going to be time.
So if you in the forms editor, that's also a new thing. It's the forms editor. They just updated, I don't know, a few months ago. it has a place where you can add everyone to the transaction, all the parties. That's really helpful. And then they should show up in the signing program.
No matter, well, this one made me, so I didn't do the new like you just clicked on. I did the old, sticking with the old, and then it gave me all 3 different versions of the DocuSign, Authentisign, and the other one you were talking about. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I just picked on the one that I've always been doing. And then I didn't see in there though, where I could, I mean, I thought probably what I'm going to have to do now is for every form, I'm going to have to put in the who's signing each time before I can have it e-signed. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to. Once you
Okay.
I'm trying to get this to work on so I can open it, but for some reason it's not letting me open the new forms editor. It's just kind of frozen. See, loading form. In the new forms editor, there's a place where you can assign all the names. You can assign all the parties to the contract or to the transaction. And once you do that, it will automatically put in those fields for you when you go into the Authentisign. So that's where you want to do the step. I'm sorry, it's not working, but when you open up a document, it's going to give you 2 options. It gives you the old forms editor and the new forms editor. If you go in the new forms editor, it seems to work better with the signing program. Go into the new forms editor, and over on the right-hand side, it gives you a choice. One of the things you can do is the parties. And then you go in there and you actually want to assign the parties to all the right, and then we'll do it for all of the documents you do.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to give up because zip forms is not working. So let me see if I can bring something always, right? Let me go over into Barris to show you some. So any other questions on, I know, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, we went over the digital signing. It might've been a little longer than that, but get a hold of that and you can go. I walked through it step by step, so that should help.
Okay.
Okay, let me share now. Hopefully, oh gosh, nothing. Okay, I'm going to turn off my video. Sometimes that works because I'm having troubles again. There we go. Okay. In Barris, when you are on this screen, before you go into the Rapatoni Barris Plus, you can see this is where a lot of those resources that CAR and or Barris provides for us. Right here is Symbium, which is helps you determine if a property might be eligible for an ADU. So it's a pretty cool new thing. You can also access it when you're in the actual Rapatoni Barris, and you go, I think it's here, go to a listing. Let me open up a listing. Let's see, Moonraker Road. We'll try you at the Sea Ranch. See if any of this is going to work, or it's just going to be too slow. There we go. So when you're looking at a specific property, right here where you've got your Facebook share and Glide and everything, and showing time, there's also access there to Symbium. So if you're looking at a property and you have a client who's like, I have to have a property that's, I can build an ADU on, you might go from the property into Symbium, or you can access it from this page here. So let's go ahead and look at Symbium. I think it's going to bring it directly from the property I was just looking at. Let's see. Yeah, so this is Moonraker Road, that listing I just pulled up. It does give you a little map of the property. It over on the left-hand side, it gives you some details about the property, that it's residential, the land lease is single family, how big the lot is. You can click here and open up the assessed values, environmental hazards, a quick check on that. And then this is kind of cool, proximity to transit, but it says the crow flies, because I pulled up my address and I was like, oh, it's a lot farther to actually walk to transit, but it's kind of a nice thing if you have somebody looking. Then after details, up here on the top left is projects. And that is where you're going to actually see if you can do ADU. Now, obviously, if this is in the county permit office, they're not actually able to tell you 100%, oh yeah, you can build an ADU on here, right? But at least it's going to give you some information to help determine whether it's likely. So let's go ahead and pull this up. So this one tells you a little bit about it. It says properties located in coastal, so it gives you some information. And then it's kind of cool. It's got some ADU designs. You can sketch a design. So like someone can take, it doesn't really say much about whether or not, some of the properties, it'll tell you more information about whether or not it can have an ADU. So let me pull up. Like, so you could like, oh yeah, I like this ADU. And then it puts it on the map here, what the size is compared to the property, right? And so then you can move it around. This one doesn't show that there's a house on it, but obviously there is. And then over here on the top right is it's going to have some information. This says you might not be able to build an ADU because it's located in that coastal zone, right? Other properties, like for instance, let's clear this. I pulled up my house just to see, just to give you a quick peek here. So here's my property. And once I go into browse designs and I choose, I'm going to do this one. Over here on the top right, it gives you an analysis. So this says you can build an ADU based on the square footage and the height, but it says placement, I can't really tell because, or the program can't tell because it's unable to display the buildable area. But it's kind of cool. You can say, oh, I want to, it looks like it would make sense to fit here. Obviously, a downside is it doesn't have topography. My property about here, it drops off steeply. So it's not a great, in that area, it wouldn't be great to build, but it does give you some good info. Let's see, go back. Up here on the top right, it gives you have an option to do an ADU report. That one you might have to, you have to log in to get a full ADU report, which I've never done. I haven't created an account yet, so we can't do that. But it does give you more info, and you could offer it up to your, some clients with that caveat that, obviously to determine for sure, they would need to talk to the county or what have you. Kind of a cool little program to play around with though. Any questions? Oops. All right, well, that's all I got that I was going to share today.
Thank you for going over that. It's just something that looks like to me like you would sit down, with your client and in front of the computer and do together. But we can do a little bit of research and say, according to this program I have, you do have a potential to do an ADU there. Obviously, you'd have to check with the county or the city or so forth. So it is an interesting little tool. Okay, that's what we got for today. Unless anybody's got any other comments or questions. Alrighty, well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back here next week, and enjoy the weekend ahead. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.